Welcome. I'm Pat Ackler-Roth, and today we're going to discuss a very tender subject: coping with the pet loss grief. You know how pet loss is not often recognized for the profound grief that it causes. This session is a safe place to discuss grief, explore the coping strategies, and reflect on the bond between humans and their pets. I'm going to help understanding this pet loss grief. We'll explore common emotions during this grieving process and identify ways to honor and heal from this loss. I will provide coping mechanisms and some support resources. There's a unique bond between humans and pets. They love unconditionally. They offer companionship and their emotional support that they provide for us. They're family members, and they often serve important emotional roles, such as a comfort during hard times. When my daughter was recovering from cancer surgery, she had 5 pit bulls. They were beautiful, big, tender dogs. I checked on her. After a little while, peeked in the bedroom. She was lying across the pillows, and all 5 dogs were on that bed up there by her. They sense when we need help. They sense when we're not feeling good. Think of the dogs that are trained for people that have epileptic seizures. And they can know ahead of time when that person is going to have a seizure. That person can then call for help, or they may be trained to go to a neighbor, someone, to get help. They're trained and they're very good at it. They're tuned in to our needs. I think it's wonderful that we have that to offer people. And pets are, the loss is just a disenfranchised grief. That would be a grief that it's not acknowledged by society. It's easy to think, oh, you're going to be sad over losing a person. Well, yes, we are. We are also going to be sad over the loss of a pet. It's a relationship that we have with that pet. So society will sometimes minimize or invalidate the grief of pet loss. And that can make the grieving process harder for individuals. There are some similarities between humans' grief and the pet. The emotions that people feel leading up to losing a pet, they often mirror those experienced by the death of a human loved one. They would be denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote the book on death and dying. These are stages leading up to the time of death, not afterwards. There are phases that we go through after the death, but these are stages of before the pet dies or before the person dies. It applies to both. The first one is denial. That would be the initial shock and disbelief. If the pet has passed, we can't deny it. It's happened. It might be a physical illness that they've had for a while or diagnosed with. Dogs have cancer too. Or it could be a disease that they've got. There could be anger. Think the frustration about the upcoming loss or circumstances of a pet's passing after a dog has been hit by a car. Yeah, and we're angry at that person that hit the dog and caused the dog's death. There's bargaining. Yeah. Before the death, We can say, oh, please, if he lives, please just let him live. I'll do this or that. You know, you're trying to make sense of it afterwards. And possibly you're feeling guilty. Now, one thing about guilt that I want to share with you, guilt comes in when you intend harm for someone or something. We've loved our pets. We don't intend harm for them. We watch out for them and we love them. So take guilt and put it back in the dictionary. That doesn't have a part here. Depression and sadness, possibly withdrawing from society, withdrawing from friends, not able to get up and go back to work. That's depression. Then comes acceptance. When we come to terms with the upcoming loss and finding a way to move forward, that would be acceptance. I spoke about guilt, but also there's self-blaming. We can't say the what ifs and the should haves that are associated with the pet's death, especially if the pet was euthanized. People will often replay their decisions and worry if they didn't do enough for their pet. Should I have let him go sooner? He lay there and suffered. Did I do enough? Did I do it too soon? Maybe it wasn't his time. There's loneliness. Pets often are an integral part of our daily routines. When we come home from work, before we even hit that door, they know we're there. They know our timing. They know sounds of our car. They know our smell. And when we open that door, they're happy to see us, like a long lost friend that hasn't seen you for a while. And they wag their tails, and we know that they're smiling. They're really happy. After their loss, a sudden absence can be disoriented and leading to feelings of isolation. It leaves a hole in your heart. It's very isolating. There's sadness and there's emptiness. A quiet in a home or the lack of a companion during activities once shared with a pet can be particularly painful. You might be walking through the room and you glance down and you find their favorite toy. These are what we call triggers. Triggers are something that brings the emotion to the head, to the surface, and the tears come. They come. Finding their favorite toy, yeah. But how about the activities too? Say we go to the beach. We take our pet dog and we're sailing the frisbee through the air and they're running after it. They'll even go in the water after it. And those are happy times. Think about what a comfort they've been to your children. And there's a relief associated with grief. Sometimes pet owners feel a sense of relief, especially if their pet was suffering. Addressing this emotion can help people overcome the guilt that might follow. Guilt is not allowed. No. We could do certain rituals. We can create them. We can create a personal ritual to honor their pets. We could light a candle. We could plant a tree. I've known people that planted a tree, put a plaque below it with the pet's name on it. Or we could create a photo album all through the pet's life, how they grow, just like we do our children. And some examples of ways to remember and celebrate their life of the beloved pet would be writing letters, like you're talking to them, making a shadow box. Maybe they've got some small little toys and we put in that shadow box along with pictures. That when we look at that, we think about them, or keeping that favorite toy, just holding it close. Now, I do suggest seeking support. We could talk about the loss with trusted friends and family, especially those who understand the bond between humans and pets. Not everyone does. Someone is to be trustworthy and important. If they've never had a pet, they're not going to understand that bond. They're not going to understand the grief. Now, they can show empathy for you, but if they haven't been there, they really don't understand how deep that pain goes and the loss that's felt. There are also pet support groups, both online and in person. There's organizations like the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement and Rainbow Bridge forums. There's therapeutic value in writing, painting, or crafting. Your mind is not focused on the loss. We're thinking about what we're doing at that moment. We're focused on that. Creative outlets can provide a way to process that grief. If we're in the middle of creating something, that still might be on our mind a little bit. We're thinking about it while we go through the process of doing our crafts. And when we go back to our lives, we're a little more relaxed, a little more peaceful. And it serves a good thing in our hearts. And we can engage in activities that bring comfort and peace, like walking, meditating is very powerful, or volunteering. There's soup kitchens where people can go volunteer to help needy people. It's said that the best way to stop feeling for yourself is to get up and go do something for someone else. I think that's very effective. Knowing that you're helping someone else, oh, it's a wonderful feeling. Wonderful. My daughter loved her animals. They were all rescue dogs. They were pit bulls. People were afraid of pit bulls at that time. They were having a bad reputation. Those dogs were big babies. She loved them. They were the children that she never had. And one of them, Bubba, when we would go see her, my husband would sit down on the couch. Bubba would go straight to him and sit on his feet. He did that every time, and we just got so tickled at it. He connected with my husband. It's interesting how they will be attracted to certain people, and we're attracted to certain animals. It's interesting. Those dogs were going to be put to sleep. She saved their life. However much longer they lived after she got them from the shelter, that was beautiful memories and good life that she gave them. It's quite a gift. Another instance would be my nephew. He was in the military, and they decided they wanted to have a pet, a dog, for their children. Well, they went to the pound. And the first pound, no, they didn't see anything that they cared for. They got the fourth pound. They still hadn't found anything that just struck them. They went to the fifth one. No, nothing struck their heart. And the guy said, well, there are some dogs in the basement. Okay, well, let's go look at them, I said. Down there were the dogs that no one wanted because they weren't perfect. They weren't all cutesy and happy and bouncy and everything. In this one cage, there were a group of dogs. All but one came to the front of the cage and wanting to be petted, wanted attention, probably saying, please take me home. There was one dog that hung back. Once they got her to come over to the front of the cage where they could pet her, she was very shy. And they noticed She only had 3 legs. She had been in a car accident. A car had hit her. Rather than taking part of her leg off, they decided to avoid infection. They would go higher and take their leg off completely. And she was healing. They took their dog home and they loved her. They wanted her because no one else wanted her. And she was one of the best things they ever did for their kids. Now, being in the military, they took him to Italy with them when they were transferred over there and then back again. They went to Italy a second time. The kids would climb all over this dog, and she was so good. She would lay there and just let him do it. Never but bit or barked at him. She was a good dog. She was a happy dog. And they got to live there with them 7 years. They had her for 7 years. Think of the love they gave her in those 7 years. If they hadn't come along, she would have been put down. They saved her life, and she saved theirs. She gave them joy to their family, and she was a member of their family. They loved her. And if there's someone that doesn't have a pet, they can still show empathy for someone that does. When someone we love is going through a rough time, we empathize with them, but also empathize how their animals have empathy for them. There's just that sense. They just know. They're trained. People that have epilepsy, they pick up on when the epilepsy seizure is coming on, and they warn them so they can call for help, or they can train the dog to go get help. They're a great comfort. But they validate someone's grief, even if it's over a pet. Understand the importance of that in another person. Be an active listener and offer supportive, non-judgmental comments. They don't need to hear judgment. They don't need to be told they didn't do it right. They need love and support, just as if they lost a person. But there's some harmful statements that people will make that we should avoid at all possible. One of them would be, it was just a pet. I've heard a story that a young man lost his pet of several years. And the dad said, well, don't worry about it. We'll go get another dog tomorrow. The next day, they went and got another dog, brought it home. He never attached to that dog. He wasn't given the time that he needed to mourn the first dog loss. Before, had he given some more time there, he might have been strong enough and over it enough before he could give the love to that second one. He was still mourning the first dog. And sometimes parents or friends don't understand that. They think they're being nice, they're filling that void. Give that person time to grieve. Animals are important too. Another one be, you can always get another one. Yeah. Grieve that first one first. It was their time. What does that really mean? It was their time. That's just an empty statement. I find it not having a lot of meaning to it. Everyone might be feel different, but I just think it's just kind of, they don't know what to say. So these things come out of their mouth just automatically. Maybe it's a habit, but they're not very comforting. Instead, you could say, I'm here for you. I know how much they meant to you. You're acknowledging their love for that animal. Or take all the time that you need. Don't let anyone rush you through grief. Take your time, go at your own pace. You have the most knowledge of your body of anyone. You know when you're ready to move forward and that you have dealt with it. The key thing is dealt with it. we need to get it out. Sometimes we have to talk about it or journal about it to get it out of our minds and on paper, or to be able to express it. Sometimes when we express it, it's like we're releasing it, but it's very healthy. So help other members. We can memorialize their pet. We can have a healing process that offers help to, say, creating a scrapbook or attending that pet memorial service. Might not be very common in your area, but who says you can't? I want you to recognize the signs of complicated grief. When someone is unable to function in their daily life due to the intensity of their grief, say they don't want to get out of bed, they don't want to go to work, they don't want to get back into their regular daily routines, they're lost and they're stuck in their grief. Some signs would be included prolonged depression. Say they've gone 6 months, maybe a couple of years later, and they're still very depressed over the loss. That means they have not dealt with the grief that bothered them so badly. They buried it. It's like a beach ball. You can hold it underwater for so long, but then your arms get tired. That ball's going to pop up out of the water. And grief will do the same thing. It will surface, maybe down the road a year or two. And it might not come out as grief, it might come out as anger. But if we get to the bottom of it, the grief is what's causing that ulcer in your heart. And you don't react the same way. And there's withdrawal. They withdraw from society. They withdraw from their friends. They just withdraw from life. Or they're maybe not able to cope with normal tasks long after the loss. I do suggest seeking professional help. I encourage therapy or counseling when the grief is overwhelming. Now, there's grief counselors like myself, therapists that specialize in pet loss or general mental health. Maybe your regular doctor would be one that would listen and understand. There's professionals that can offer support. I have been trained and licensed in pet loss. I can help. What I do is I help my clients through my coaching services to understand that what they're experiencing is very normal. Understanding their grief, I help them with, and to go forward with their lives. Having peace of mind that they did all they could for their beloved pet. And they know this, and they feel it. And then life can go on. There's hotlines too. There's hotlines like ASPCA, Pet Loss Hotline, or the APLB's Pet Loss Hotline. There's books and resources that focus directly on pet loss. This one book that's very good, I recommend, is Gary's Kowalski, Kowalski, Goodbye Friend. Goodbye Friend by Gary Kowalski. Another book would be The Loss of a Pet by Wallace Sife, Sife, Loss of a Pet. When Your Pet Dies by Ellen Wolfelt, Wolfelt. There's websites like the Association of Pet and Bereavement, or Pet Loss and Bereavement. That would be the APLB, and the Rainbow Bridge Pet Loss Grief Center. They're dealing strictly with someone that's lost a pet. I do believe that when we go to heaven, our pets will be there welcoming us, and happy to see us. I don't think that love stops. Not any more than the love of a person that you care about. That doesn't stop. That will always be there. It's deep in your heart. And it feels good to have that love. Hotlines would be like the ASPCA. That's the Pet Loss Hotline. That is a toll-free number at 877-474-3310. I'll say it again. 877-474-3310. In this session, we've talked about grieving the loss of a pet, and that is a valid and very natural process. Pets love unconditionally. They have a special place in our hearts. And we do grieve them when we lose them. So we have to allow ourselves to experience grief fully without guilt. I thank you for attending this workshop. And remember that support is available through my coaching services to help understand the grieving process, to honor the pets in our lives, and to gain peace of mind. The pets are loved and missed when they're gone. I do have a pet loss program I would like to offer you. It's a 6-week program. We meet 1 hour each week. You can go to my website to www.patacklerroth.com/loss-of-pet. And it will take you right to the program. I can also give you a free 30-minute conversation, no charge. And we can talk about your pet, or if there's something else we need to talk about. I am a grief recovery specialist. I talk to people about their animals. I talk to people about their loss or someone that they have lost. I help them understand what they're going through is very normal, very normal. But there again, on the website, if you go to conversation, it will take you to my calendar where we can set up a time that works for you. And it will notify me that you have put in that time. We'll meet over Zoom. I love Zoom. I can see your faces. I think we relate to other people more when we can see their face rather than just a phone call. Grief is very emotional. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're sharing. Find someone that you trust, that you could turn to, that understands how deep that pain goes. The deeper the loss, the deeper the hurt. But it doesn't have to last forever. I can help you. Bye for now.